Hey guys, how is each and every one of you? Right. So today we are having one of our longer lectures on nerve tissue. Okay. So first of all, I would like to welcome you all to the session that is called as Histology 101. Okay. That's the name of the series, and in these series I have master classes for you. Okay. And today's topic is going to be nervous tissue, right? Or what you call as nerve tissue. Okay, so there are four basic types of tissue. So the topic for today is nerve tissue, and the series is Histology 101. It's something I started in August, and the purpose of the series was to give you guys some quality sessions on histology, because I feel that you are not going to find good histology anywhere. Okay, so that's the purpose of the series, and today's Histology Masterclass is on nerve tissue. Okay, so are you guys ready to begin? Okay. Hi Charu, how are you? So first of all, I would like to welcome you all to Unacademy, and the name of our YouTube channel is Let's Crack NEET PG. So in case you guys haven't subscribed to Let's Crack NEET PG, please go ahead and do so, because I'm going to be continuing this series throughout September for Histology 101. Okay, my name is Chetanya Mittal. I'm currently pursuing my MBBS from AIMS Delhi, and these are my credentials. So you guys can visit my Unacademy profile, and you can use SPCM or Chetanya 10 as the referral code to unlock the free plan, and you can also encourage your friends to do the same. Okay, so are you guys ready to begin? Okay, so before I tell you more about the Unacademy subscription program, first of all, I want to begin with telling you guys a little bit about nerve tissue. Okay, let's begin with nerve tissue. Let me give you an idea. Let me give you a feel how this lecture is going to be like. ये lecture कैसा होने वाला है? How are you going to feel? Okay, so first let me pick up a slide. Okay, great. Right, so I want you to identify this cell for me. I want you to identify this cell for me. Okay, I want you to identify this cell. Of course, since we are talking about nerve tissue, this is of course something to do with nerve tissue. And you can see here, this is actually a neuron. This is actually a multipolar neuron, as I will tell you later. This is actually a multipolar neuron. Okay, on HNE. So we are going to identify a few slides. We are going to identify a few sections. We are going to understand the nerve tissue and its organization. So we are going to understand in this session nerve tissue and its organization, and all of it along with everything. I'm going to continuously show you plates. I'm going to show you actual microscopy features. I'm going to tell you the identification features of each and everything. All right. For example, let me show you how I'll show you how white matter looks like in the cerebrum, how white matter looks like in the spinal cord. Okay, I can show you basket cells in the cerebellum, okay, through special stains. So for example, let me show you a slide. Okay, so this is a section of basket cells. Okay, I'll tell you what are basket cells, where are they found, but that's how the session is going to go. There are going to be a lot of images for you guys. There are going to be a lot of identifying features for you points, and there are going to be a lot of theory points as well. So it's going to be a comprehensive lecture on nerve tissue. So I request you guys to stay tuned throughout the lecture, and if you have any friends who want to join, you can ask them to join as well. Okay, this month I'll also be taking special classes on Unacademy, so you guys can go ahead and follow me on Unacademy so that you get notified when I'm going live. Besides that, I keep on putting the links for my sessions on the Telegram channel Let's Crack NEET PG. Okay, you all know about the YouTube channel. We also have a parallel Telegram channel where all the educators put the links of their various sessions, and you guys can use my plus referral code Chetanya10 to take any subscription. Now, before I tell you about everything else, I want to tell you about the new offer that we have launched in September. Okay, and this is specially for those of you who are going to begin their preparation from their third year, which is actually the exact time when you should start preparing. Okay, now why this subscription was launched, why this offer was launched? We all know that right now you have two things on your mind. First of all, you have to prepare for your second prof. Second, you have to prepare for your next examination. Okay, so you have about 4 months for your preparing for your second prof, and after that your next exam will happen before the internship starts. That means 2 years. So we don't want you guys to have to buy subscription 2 times. Okay, we don't want that you buy subscription 2 times. We want that एक बार में subscription लेके आपका पूरा गुजारा चल जाए. That's why for those of you who are opting for the 2-year plan, we are giving 4 months absolutely free of cost. Okay, 4 months absolutely free of cost. ठीक है, so that you guys can prepare effectively for both your university exams as well as your next exam. ठीक है, and for this, please don't use random referral codes because this offer gets automatically credited to your account in 30 days, and it is only applicable if you use my referral code, that is Chetanya10 or SPCM. Okay guys, this is a new offer for September, and right now it is only available on limited referral codes. So please remember to use my referral code Chetanya10. We have these batches starting on 1st September. You can see we have batches for FMGE, we have batches for Next, we have batches for NEET PG, and soon we'll also start another batch for INICET. Okay, and these are the various batches that are running in the start of September. Okay, then on 4th of September, that is today, we had a grand test for the NEET PG aspirants, and you guys can take part. It is still live on the app. And one more thing, if you guys are instead opting for a 1-year subscription, you can get 2 months free. Okay, so if you are going for 2 years, you get 4 months free. If you are going for 1 year, you get 2 months free. Okay, and this is the best discount that is being given. Most of our competitors are either giving 1 month free with 2 years or something like that. Okay, apart from that, we have a heavily discounted 4-year subscription. If you guys are currently in your first year, you can go for this. Okay, and here you will get Plus for 60,000 and Iconic for 75,000. Again, the catch here is that you can use my referral code Chetanya10 and you can further get a discount here. That is another 10% off here. So the Iconic subscription, which includes both Unacademy and Prep Ladder, it will cost you 67,500. All right. The rest of the features, a lot of our other educators will be telling you about. So we have 2 subscriptions, Plus and Iconic. We have a Ask a Doubt feature on Unacademy. We have polls in live classes. These are features you can actually experience when you are attending live classes. You can raise your hand, you can unmute yourself. And these are the various steps to get a subscription. Select NEET PG, go to Plus, select the duration. And please don't forget to use my referral code Chetanya10. Does not matter which subscription you are taking. If your brother or sister is using a NEET UG subscription or an IIT subscription, please remember to use my referral code Chetanya10. I'll try to help you out from my side in the best way possible. Okay, right. So in the Plus subscription, this is what all is included. You can compete in various quizzes and tests, and in the Iconic subscription, you also have access to Prep Ladder, where you get the video lectures, the updated question bank, and the notes. So along with notes, in 67,500 for 4 years, you are getting both Unacademy and Prep Ladder. What else do you want, guys? This is the best deal that is out there for you guys right now. Apart from that, we have an updated and highly effective QBank available, where we have over 25,000 questions for you guys, and you guys can take advantage of this. Okay, and please remember to only and only use my referral code Chetanya10. Okay, please don't use other referral codes. They do not give you as good offers. Okay, and these are the results of our various aspirants of FMGE. Right, so we can begin, and these are the various pricing plans. You can check them out. 4 year, 3 year. In 2 years, you are getting 4 months free of cost. In 1 year, you are getting 2 months free of cost. And these are the ones for Iconic, where the 4-year one is heavily discounted. You guys, please remember to use my referral code Chetanya. ठीक है, शुरू करें? Can we start? Okay. So let's start talking about nerve tissue. So you all know that tissue, when we talk about tissues, there are 4 types of tissues, right? Epithelial, Okay, we've already discussed it. Connective, we have already discussed it, right, in August. Then muscular tissue, already discussed it. Last tissue that is left to discuss is the nerve tissue. Last tissue that is left to discuss is the nerve tissue, and it is what will actually give a completion to our general histology. So nerve tissue, when you start talking about it, we will also be talking here about the nervous system. So it's a mix of general histology and systemic histology. So in your body, the nerve tissue is such that it constitutes only a small portion, only about 10 to 15%, right? Another feature is that it is derived from the ectoderm. It is derived exclusively from the ectoderm. Okay, you all know connective tissue, it is mainly derived from the mesoderm. The muscular tissue is derived mainly from the mesoderm. Okay, epithelial tissue, it can be derived from ectoderm, it can be derived from mesoderm, it can be derived from endoderm. There are no restrictions on epithelial tissue. Okay, it can be derived from any of these. Is that clear? Right, that is one thing. Second thing is very important, nerve tissue, it does not have capacity for regeneration. Almost the capacity for regeneration is zero. Okay, so that is another point that I am highlighting here before we begin with nervous tissue. This is the point you need to understand about the overall classification of tissues, what all we have done, what all is left to do. चलें आगे. सलमान खान की तरह मेरे बाल नीचे आए जा रहे हैं. Okay, let's continue. So let's start talking about the nervous system now. Let's start talking about the nervous system now. So I told you it's a mixture of understanding the nervous system and understanding the nervous tissue. What is the nervous system? The nervous system is that system of the body which is responsible for consciousness. What is consciousness? The ability to respond, the ability to detect and respond to stimuli, right? So the nervous system, it allows the body to detect and to respond to changes in the environment. Okay, it is a controller, it is an integrator of all the functions of the body. You know about all of this. Okay, let's talk about the divisions of the nervous system. Okay, so anatomical division, if you look at it, first division is anatomical division. It is divided into two. Anatomically, it is divided into two, the CNS and the PNS, central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Okay, what is the central nervous system? What is the peripheral nervous system? You all know. Brain plus spinal cord is central nervous system. Brain plus spinal cord is central nervous system. Everything else is peripheral nervous system, right? So that is the very simple anatomical definition. Ki anatomically, what is the central nervous system? What is the peripheral nervous system? So what all is included in everything else? There are going to be nerves. They can be cranial nerves. You will have cranial nerves. So if somebody asks you, are cranial nerves part of the central nervous system or peripheral nervous system, you will say peripheral nervous system, even though they are coming from the brain, but they are part of the peripheral nervous system, right? Cranial nerves, spinal nerves, peripheral nerves, all of these are part of the peripheral nervous system. Okay, one question here, what about the optic nerve? What about the optic nerve? It is said optic nerve, it has a covering of meninges, right? So it resembles the central nervous system more. Okay, so it is considered to be a part of the central nervous system. This is one exception that you guys can remember. Is that clear? Is that clear? Now, next thing that you have to understand is that there are four terms. Okay, nerve, tract, ganglia or ganglion, and nucleus. Okay, four terms. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to write all of these are collections of, all of these are collections of, okay, and then let me copy this to everywhere. Okay, first thing. Second thing, you will write two words. Nerves are collections of axons. Tracts are collections of axons, right? Ganglions are connections of cell body, right? You all know the structure of a neuron. You all know about the structure of a neuron. There is an axon and there is a cell body, also called as the soma, right? Then nerve is outside CNS. Nerve is outside CNS. Ganglion is outside CNS. Tract is part of CNS. Is that clear? Is that clear? These definitions: nerve, tract, ganglion, nucleus. What is a nerve? What is a tract? What is a ganglion? What is a nucleus? Now I'm going to give you two considering points here. First of all, is basal ganglia a ganglion? Is basal ganglia actually a ganglia? First point. Second point, optic tract. Is it a tract or is it a nerve? Right, so optic nerve. Now just think about these two things, right? First of all, basal ganglia, it is a collection of nuclei. It is a collection of nuclei or cell body. So I'll not use the word nuclei here. It is a collection of cell body. And you all know basal ganglia, it is located in the brain. So it is inside the CNS, inside the CNS. So actually the basal ganglia is a misnomer. It is not a ganglia. It should actually technically be a nucleus. It should technically be basal nuclei, right? Second thing, optic nerve, it is a collection of axons, right? It is a collection of axons. But is it inside the CNS or outside the CNS? I told you optic nerve, it is covered by myelin sheath. It has certain features that make it similar to the CNS. So it is considered to be a part of the CNS. So what is the correct word for optic nerve? It should be optic tract. Okay, but of course these terms are also used. ऐसा नहीं है कि ये terms use करना गलत है. These terms are also used, okay, and I will also be using them in my lectures, but I just wanted to point you out that technically these words should not be used. And now that is just for your understanding of these four definitions, which is very, very important. It will help you everywhere. Okay. Fine, understood? Okay, now I guess we can proceed ahead. You can pass ahead. Now that was the anatomical definition. These were anatomical definitions. Now what about functional aspects? What about functional aspects? You divide the nervous system into which of the following components? You divide it into two components: somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Okay. And if you have studied a little bit of neuroanatomy, you will see that in neuroanatomy, they teach you about the functional columns of the spinal cord. So there you have general somatic afferent, general somatic efferent, right? general visceral afferent, and general visceral efferent. So this visceral is actually autonomic. So these are the two functional divisions you have for nervous system. That is the somatic control, which is part of the CNS as well as the peripheral nervous system, and it controls the voluntary functions, right? Voluntary functions. Autonomic nervous system, it controls the involuntary innervation. Okay, मोटा मोटा अगर बात करें, it is divided into voluntary and involuntary. ठीक है? Then you can further divide autonomic nervous system into three parts. Okay, you can further divide it into three parts: SNS, parasympathetic nervous system, and one is called as enteric nervous system, ENS, enteric, that is responsible for GI, right? Enteric nervous system. So that is how you divide nervous system in your body. Now let's talk about the composition of nerve tissue, right? How is nervous tissue organized? Right, in your body, let's talk about more about nerve tissue and its organization. So when you talk about tissue, what do you think constitutes nerve tissue, right? What do you think constitutes nerve tissue? You have all studied this from a very basic. First of all, you have cells, then cells, they combine and they form tissues. So of course you cannot just have neurons. Since it's a tissue, you cannot have just one cell here, right? You can, I mean, technically, but of course there are going to be other cells. So you have neurons and supporting cells, also called as neuroglial cells. So I'm going to write here, nerve tissue is made up of neurons or nerve cells. They're called as nerve cells, plus neuroglial cells, also called as supporting cells. Okay, but I'm only writing the term neuroglial cells. Okay, which of these is functional unit? Okay, so neurons are the functional unit of the nervous system. That is very clear. There's no debate about that. Okay. So neurons consist of two main components: cell body, which has nucleus and dendrites. Cell body with nucleus and certain dendrites, and the axon, right? That is the main division. And when we were studying about nuclei, ganglia, nerves and nerve tracts, that was the two divisions we did: cell body and axon. Okay, that's what you need to understand from a histology point of view. That is important to understand from a histology point of view. Otherwise, there are so many other structures that are part of the structure of a neuron. Okay, we will study about it in somewhat detail. Okay, just allow me to have some water. Now, nerve cells, what is their special thing? What is their special thing? They can conduct electrical impulses, they can receive stimuli, and they can release neurotransmitters. They are responsible for conduction, they are responsible for sending impulses, and they are an integrated communication network. Okay, that is important. Now, before I continue about little bit here, I want to understand that you have understood what a ganglion is, right? You have understood what a ganglion is. So once I tell you what a neuron is and what are nerve fibers, I'll come to the histological picture of how to identify a ganglion, है ना? Because ganglion के ऊपर question आता है. Ganglion is a important question in your exams. I'll just come to that in 2 minutes. All right. So then after that, you talk about neurons, you talk about neuroglial cells. So there are neuroglial cells in the CNS, there are neuroglial cells in the PNS. Okay, so let me write it down here. There is a central neuroglia, which includes the neuroglial cells of the CNS, and there is a peripheral neuroglia, which includes the neuroglial cells in the peripheral nervous system. All right, that is apart from the brain and spinal cord, you have peripheral neuroglia. Okay, so in the central neuroglia, what are you going to have? Be very clear about it. You are having you know, now first of all, be very careful about Schwann cell and oligodendrocyte. That is because a distinguishing point. Okay? That is a distinguishing point. Schwann cell is present in peripheral neuroglia. So I'm not writing Schwann cell, I'm just writing Schwann here. Cell bhi likh dete hain. And in central neuroglia, in place of it, you have oligodendrocyte. So this is the first distinguishing feature that you should remember. Oligodendrocyte. Okay, that is very, very important. Apart from that, in the CNS, you have astrocytes. Okay, I'm writing here. You have astrocytes. You have microglia, which are the only cells of the nervous tissue that are not derived from the ectoderm, right? And you have ependymal cells. You have 4 types of central neuroglia. Ependymal cells, they are responsible for lining of the ventricles. Okay. In the peripheral neuroglia, you have Schwann cells, you have satellite cells, you might have these, astrocytes, you might have microglia, you have these things. All right. So I'll just write here another feature here that is exclusive here, that is satellite cells. Okay. And when I tell you about certain structures, I will again talk about satellite cells. Is this clear to each and every one of you? Or should I write this separately, It's very clear that central neuroglial cells, they are of 4 types, right? Peripheral neuroglia, you might have certain variability. You can have some special neuroglial cells at some places, right? So I told you here you have, first of all, oligodendrocytes. Second, I told you have astrocytes. Third, I told you have microglia. Fourth, I told you here you have ependymal cells. Here you have, very important, Schwann cells. Second, satellite cells. And third is okay. Chalo. Now that's a lot about this. Now some of you might think that there are certain cells, because I told you that there is central nervous system, there is peripheral nervous system, and there are certain cells called as satellite cells. I will tell you what are satellite cells, why are they called as satellite cells. Okay. Okay, do you want me to tell you a little bit about satellite cells first? Okay, so satellite cells, they are so important. Why? Because first of all, they are a identifying feature of peripheral. They're part of the PNS, I just told you. So they will be found in peripheral nervous system, right? So they are found in PNS. And what is a collection of cell bodies in the PNS known as? So they are found in ganglia, peripheral ganglia. So okay, yahan pe these words, these definitions, they are really going to help you. They are found in peripheral ganglia. Okay, very important. So within the ganglia, you are going to find satellite cells. Why are they called satellite cells? Because they are going to, so just like a satellite orbits around the earth or a planet, they are present around the cell body of a nucleus. They are present around the cell body of a nucleus. They surround the cell body. Okay, they surround the cell body of the nerve cell, and they are analogous to Schwann cells. Okay, they are analogous to Schwann cell. Analogous to, I'll just write here, analogous to Schwann cell. But remember, Schwann cell, they are associated with the axon. They are associated with the axon. Why? Because they have to synthesize myelin. They are involved in myelin synthesis. So they are not related here. Okay. Now, in the one in special point, I told you that in the functional division, you have SNS. In the autonomic nervous system, you have ANS, PNS, and you have ANS, in which you have sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, and enteric nervous system. So special note that I want you guys to make, special note that you guys might forget: supporting cells or the enteric neuroglial cells in the walls of the alimentary canals. Enteric neuroglial cells. Neuroglial cells resemble what? They morphologically and functionally resemble. You have two options: central neuroglia or peripheral neuroglia. Central neuroglia or peripheral neuroglia. What is your answer? Central neuroglia or peripheral neuroglia? What's your answer? They resemble central neuroglia. Okay, please keep this in mind. They resemble central neuroglia. Right? That's the correct answer. So please, 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 this is very important. Kabhi kabhi kisi ko agar MCQ aaye, you can get confused. Now, one question that comes in the exam that I'm leaving to physiology is, what are the functions of neuroglial cells? What are the functions of neuroglial cells? You might have to write this answer in histology also, but it's not important here from an MCQ point of view. So I am going to leave it out. But what are the functions of various neuroglial cells? You should be able to write it. Okay, they are providing support, they are providing insulation, they are helping in regulation of the neurotransmitters. Okay, there are a lot of functions here. Metabolic functions are there. So all of these you should be able to write, and this will help you understand these things. Okay. Now I told you here that nerve tissue, it is having neurons, it is having neuroglial cells, but there also must be a blood supply here, right? For any tissue to remain viable, there must be a blood supply, right? So that's true. Blood vessels, they are also present, but they are separated from the nerve tissue by connective tissue, right? There can be a basal lamina, there can be connective tissue in between. Okay, and later I'll also tell you about the blood-brain barrier. I'll also tell you about the blood-brain barrier. चलिए आगे. Can we go ahead? Okay. One more thing is the close coordination between the nervous tissue and the endocrine tissue. So in some parts of your body, you will see a term that is used that is called as neuroendocrine cells. Neuroendocrine cells. So these are basically nerve cells. These are basically nerve cells which have acquired a secretory function, which have acquired secretory function. So now there are neurosecretory, okay, which have acquired secretory function, and that is why they are behaving like a endocrine gland. So that is why they are called as neuroendocrine cells. Okay, so that is another point that I want you guys to keep in mind. So can we move ahead and let's start talking a little bit about neurons now. Let's talk about neurons. Next topic for me to discuss with you guys is neurons. Now, before I move to neurons, I've already told you about ganglia. I've already told you about ganglia or ganglion. Now, you all know that when we are talking about histology, we try to understand two types of ganglion. One is dorsal root ganglion. That is sort of your somatic ganglion, somatic sensory ganglion. Right, somatic sensory ganglion. You all know what is the dorsal root. This you have studied in even your 11th and 12th. And second thing that we study here is the sympathetic ganglion, which is a autonomic ganglion, So we are essentially trying to differentiate between a sympathetic ganglion and an autonomic ganglion, which is otherwise a functional division, but there are certain structural aspects that you guys can identify. Kare shuru? Understanding dorsal horn ganglion and autonomic ganglion. It's an important thing. Okay, guys? Difference between dorsal root ganglion and autonomic ganglion. Shuru kare? Are you guys ready? Any doubts right now? Any doubts still here? Okay, so this is what I told you so far. It was an overview. We'll study everything in detail. Do not worry. Chale? Okay, so what are ganglia? First of all, I told you ganglia are clusters of cell bodies outside CNS. So first important thing you should write here is they are cell bodies collection outside CNS. That's the first important thing. You should know the definition of a ganglion if you want to identify it on histology. So what will happen is that if you try to understand what is a ganglion, okay, and there's a very famous example that is used here, that is, think of a neuron as a mouse. Think of a neuron as a mouse. A mouse has a very long tail, and let's say this is the mouse. So what is a ganglion? Ganglion, it is a collection of mouses. It is a collection of mouses outside the CNS. अगर बहुत सारे mouses एक meeting कर ले, right, and they are outside the CNS, so that is going to be called as a ganglion, right? Something like this. So what you will be able to identify here is, this is essentially what a ganglion is. And if you take the classical mouse tail example, this is the ganglion. Now to understand this, one more thing that you should see is that there are nerve fibers that are going away and coming to this ganglion. There are a lot of nerve fibers that you can see going away and coming to the ganglion. So sensory ganglion, there are two ganglions right here, sensory ganglion and sympathetic ganglion. Sensory ganglia, they are present just outside the CNS. They are present just outside the CNS. So let's first understand sensory ganglia. What are sensory ganglia? What are we are calling as dorsal root ganglia, है ना, उसको ही sensory ganglia कह रहे हैं, या फिर dorsal root ganglia, और I will write here DRG. Okay, so where is it present? It is present just outside the CNS. Okay, you all know the structure of the spinal cord. Okay, let's say this is the spinal cord. So just here somewhere you have the dorsal root ganglion, है ना, when it is entering, the spinal nerve is entering. So this is a image. I'll maybe use a better image to explain you. Right now I'm also going to show you a slide here, so be prepared. Okay, in your mind, be prepared. Right now I'm just going to show you a slide. Okay, so this is how your spinal cord is organized, right? This is how your spinal cord is organized. So here you have your dorsal root ganglion. Okay, and this is the somatic ganglion in your body. You can see that ऐसा यहाँ पे कोई collection you can't appreciate in the ventral root. उसके nuclei यहाँ अंदर चले जाते हैं. Okay, so these nuclei you can make out here. You have pseudo unipolar neurons here, right? So these are sensory ganglia. Autonomic ganglia, they are the ganglia of the autonomic nervous system, and they are motor ganglia. They are motor ganglia. Okay, so autonomic ganglia, they are again a collection of neurons. They are very importantly, they are motor ganglia. They are motor ganglia. Now why are they motor ganglia? Can anybody make out why are they motor ganglia? So what happens? The autonomic supply, it's coming from certain structures, right? Autonomic supply, it is coming from certain structures from some places, and before they go to their final organ. So I'll just show you an example. Some place where you can make this out. Now, so this is an example of an understanding of autonomic ganglia. So you can see from the central nervous system, you have pre-sympathetic efferents coming. They synapse at some place, and here you have another neuron before you have the post-sympathetic efferents, right? So that is the concept behind an autonomic ganglia. So all of these are, autonomic ganglia, or they are involuntary ganglion, right? So they have the cell bodies of the postsynaptic neurons, right? Cell bodies of the postsynaptic neurons, that is after the synapse has been formed. You are aware of the basic structure of autonomic innervation. And there is a neuron that comes from the CNS that is called as presynaptic neuron. It synapses on another neuron that is called as the postsynaptic neuron, and that finally goes and innervates the target organ. The target organ, it can be anything. It can be your cardiac muscle, right? It can be, that is essentially your heart. It can be a gland, and it can be smooth muscle, right? So it can be cardiac muscle, it can be smooth muscle, or it can be glandular tissue, right? There are three alternatives for a target. Okay, understood? So mainly here you are going to consider sympathetic ganglion. There are also enteric ganglion and parasympathetic ganglion, but when we are talking here, we are mainly going to talk about sympathetic ganglion. We are talking about sympathetic ganglion. They are present in the sympathetic chain. Okay. So autonomic ganglia, there are of three types. Sympathetic, right? They are present in the sympathetic chain. Parasympathetic ganglion. Now parasympathetic ganglion, they are almost present inside or very near to the target organ. That is why they are not very easy to appreciate in the body. And third is enteric ganglion. They're obviously located in the wall of the GI tract. So again, you are not going to study them much. What we mainly focus here on is sympathetic ganglion, and what we focus here in somatic system is the sensory ganglion, right? So I'm writing here somatic. Now you understand why this differentiation is so important to do. And when you are writing the differences between dorsal root ganglion and autonomic ganglion or sympathetic ganglion, you can include these points of differences. Okay? Should we start? Okay, let's start. Okay, so I will ask you to identify something here. You tell me which ganglion is this. I will write down some features and then let's try to make out what this is. Is that fine? Okay, because I know that it might be slightly difficult for you guys to identify like this. It might be slightly difficult for you guys to identify like this. Okay? After this, I'll show you some better images also. Don't worry. Correct, Shuru? Okay, first let me also show you the other one. है ना दोनों दिखाता हूँ comparison में and then you might be able to make it out a little better. And I'll also show you some better images here because the microscopic images I have, they are not very good. Can you differentiate between these two? 1 and 2. Or do you want some more images? Should we have some more images? Okay, so I am just showing you some more images of this slide. And now this slide, we are going in a slightly more magnified way. Or slightly different quality image. Again, an actual image, not a atlas image right now. शुरू करें to identify. Okay, now in these two images, it will be slightly easier for you guys to identify a few points. So let's first do that. Okay, now this is the most magnified image. What all can you make out here? What all can you make out here? Can you make out some specific things? Okay, I know it's a little difficult for you guys to be doing this. थोड़ा सा मुश्किल है guys. थोड़ा सा try करो and we will see how well you are able to do. बताओ बताओ. Take a guess. It's either a sympathetic ganglion or a dorsal root ganglion. What is your guess? Sympathetic ganglion or dorsal root ganglion? What should be your guess? Anyone? Sympathetic ganglion or dorsal root ganglion? Quickly. Right. So try to first of all appreciate that you have a blood vessel here. Hi games. So this is the same thing again. So let me tell you that this is a sympathetic ganglion. This is a sympathetic ganglion. Now sympathetic ganglion, you all know it is a motor ganglion. It is a motor ganglion. And what are the type of neurons you have in a sympathetic ganglion? What are the type of neurons you have in a sympathetic ganglion? Okay. Do you have unipolar neurons, multipolar neurons, pseudo unipolar neurons? What should be the type of neurons if it is a motor ganglion? What should be the correct guess, games. So what should be the identifying features here for sympathetic ganglion? Okay, because this is one of the difficult slides that you get to identify, है ना? And ये exam में पूछते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है that they don't ask it. Okay, what are the identifying features? The first feature that you need to keep in mind, the first feature that you need to keep in mind is that you will see large nuclei. You will see large nuclei, large cell bodies of multipolar neurons. Okay, we'll see very large cell bodies. Just have a look at this picture. You can see that here, 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 here. So many large cell bodies which are present in a scattered way. They are present in a scattered way. First of all, they are present in a scattered way. That is very important to recognize, that you have large cell bodies that are present in a scattered way. That's the first thing that I want you guys to appreciate. I hope you can appreciate it. You have very large cell bodies of scattered neurons, right? Now, how to identify that they are multipolar neurons. For that, you will need, silver staining to be able to appreciate that better. But, what you can see here is that there are multiple processes coming out from a particular neuron, right? So that is the identification that it is actually a multipolar neuron. It is actually a multipolar neuron. Okay, so I am telling you guys that these are multipolar neurons. And third thing that I want you to appreciate, that is very beautifully appreciated in this image. Can you look at this neuron in the bottom left? Just have a look at the neuron in the bottom left on the image on the right side. Okay, just have a look at this neuron. Okay, just this neuron. You can appreciate a lot of things about this neuron. What are those things? First thing, you all know, there's a very large cell body. You can appreciate, correct? Then something very specific about the nucleus I want you guys to tell me. Something very specific about the nucleus. So what can you see here? This is the nucleus. And it is pale staining. The nucleus is pale staining. Pale staining nucleus. Now, why is the nucleus pale staining? Because of presence of abundant euchromatin, which means that the DNA is open. DNA is open. There's a lot of protein synthesis going on, right? Presence of abundant euchromatin, which is not coiled. Heterochromatin appears dark and you. Hi. So one thing more that I want you to appreciate in this particular image is that apart from the fact that there is a pale staining nucleus, right? Pale staining nucleus shows you that the chromatin, it is extended. It is extended. It is present in the extended form. But what you can appreciate in the center, is something that is different, right? That is inside the nucleus. You can see there is another dot. There is another dot. Can you make it out? Can you make this dot out? Right. This is your darkly stained or your intensely stained nucleolus. Intensely stained nucleolus. Now, based on these two features, you can definitely say that this cell is carrying out very active protein synthesis. This cell is carrying out very active protein synthesis. Okay. So these two features, they are indicators of active protein synthesis. So it's a metabolically active neuron carrying out active protein synthesis at the time of fixation. Okay, so these are two important points. You have large cell bodies with multiple processes indicating there are multipolar neuron with a pale staining nucleus containing a intense staining nucleolus, depicting the fact that the cell is carrying out large amount of protein synthesis. All right. So that is the special feature of the nucleus that I've explained separately here, right? So I'm just going to write it in one consecutive point so that you guys can write it in your exams in a similar manner. Large cell bodies of, I told you another term, scattered neurons, right? What is the type of neurons? Multipolar neurons with pale staining nucleus and intensely stained nucleoli, right? Intensely stained. That is the characteristic feature. Second feature is again important that I am writing here. Satellite cells. So now satellite cells, where can you see them? Okay, they're also highlighted in this particular image, but I always feel it's better to show you in this.